for taking time out of your crazy schedule at CES to join us today at the AI House. I have an amazing panel of incredible people from different parts of industry as well as practice. We've got little policy professionals. So it's going to be a very fun, wild ride in the world of really what does the workforce look like as AI starts to, I don't know, take over everything. So I want to invite my panelists to come on up. I'm going to see where I want to put them seat-wise. Come on, let's go. I'm going to invite, okay, I'll say Lindsey will come up first. And Lindsey is one of the best storytellers. Yes, give her a round of applause. One of the best storytellers. She's anchored many of news broadcasts. She actually hosted me. Come on down. We'll have you sit right there. Alex, I'm going to have you sit where my baby tiger is. Amazing. All right, and then the gentleman can just pick a seat. I hope that doesn't say a lot about me right there. Yeah, perfect, awesome. All right, then I'm gonna sit over here. Cool, I was just gonna take whatever seat was available. So obviously we have a lot of people here today to share with you some perspectives. I wanna start first by giving people an opportunity. My eyeglasses are talking to me. No, not right now. The most important thing about the topic that we're going to share with you today is that it impacts every single one of us and that we all have different lived experiences, and my hope is that we'll be able to bring some of those lived experiences to you and how we've managed the world of work and AI throughout the last couple of years, some of us much longer. I'm Noelle Russell, and my journey into the world of AI started actually at CES 10 years ago. I helped launch Amazon Alexa. I was employee 10 on that product. I built over 100 apps for Alexa in its first year, owned 10% of the applications that were deployed, got millions of users, and didn't know what the heck I was doing. And realized that productizing AI was very much that journey of getting a good idea, knowing how to clearly articulate it, and then get it out into the world. And so I've productized models at Microsoft, at IBM, at Red Hat. I'm a big practitioner, but what I love most really is helping people who didn't really see an opportunity, didn't see themselves in the world of AI, start to see themselves that way. So I have a community, which actually I think a couple of us are in, called the I know I have community members in the house, the I Love AI community. It's a free community where we just teach literally anyone the art of AI, and I do think that that is a core principle of the workforce topics we're going to talk about. So as we get started, I want to give everyone a chance to introduce yourself, but then also talk a little bit about how the workforce, like the concept of the workforce has changed for you over the last 2 years. And it's totally fine if it hasn't changed at all, though I don't think that will be the case. But I would like to understand a little bit about your background and then give us a little idea about what you think about the workforce right now. So I'll start with you, Lindsey, and we'll walk down the lane.
Sure. Thank you so much, Noelle. Thank you for having me. My name's Lindsey Mastis, and I'm an AI and tech news anchor. I've been covering AI and tech for about the past 2 years. And up until Friday, I was in TV broadcast news, and now I've gone independent so that I can focus on this pretty much full time. So it's changed for me. I've also seen the landscape within the newsroom change a bit. It's a little bit slower moving right now because, you know, when it comes to journalists, we want to make sure everything's accurate. So that's a little bit of a holdup. But I also have reported on AI and tech, especially when it comes to the workforce, and a lot of parents that are concerned about what should their children be learning when it comes to what they're going to be doing in the future, and then also talking to people about having to pivot. So it's really a broad spectrum right now, but this is really impacting all areas, and it's an exciting time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that. All right, let's keep going.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. Brian Scarpelli is my name. I'm with a trade association based in Washington, D.C. called ACT, the App Association. It's a not-for-profit industry advocate for the small business software developer segment of the industry. I'm a lawyer for them, so I thought actually I could touch on two kind of different angles. One, the impact on the developer community. I think it's very much seen as a vital augmentative tool for code generation and finding bugs, and other quality checks and assurances. So that, for our community, these are small, some micro companies that have been developing and using AI for years now, and they're really leaning in, embracing it. So there's a lot of positive. It's all very, I think, quite positive from that perspective. I mentioned that I'm a lawyer just because I thought it would be interesting to talk about that just for a moment. Like, how is that impacting the legal profession? AI tools are already pretty critical in just document review, summarizing, some kind of, if you want to call them pedestrian uses, maybe transcription and things like that. But there's some really interesting or infamous cases that people might be aware of lawyers, submitting briefs to courts with hallucinated sites and cases and things like that, and them getting into trouble. So these are themes that I think we'll probably touch on later. I just thought I'd mention that too. But
yeah, amazing. Thank you. So we've got the scene is being set. We've got a content creator, right? A storyteller, a news professional, media represented. We've now got legal and policy represented. So I think you'll find the diversity of experience very, very interesting. So Bob, I'd like you to go next if you don't mind.
Sure. Hi, my name is Bob Briski. I work for a company called DEPT agency. We're half creative brand and media agency, and then the other half is a technical data and AI portion of the company, and I work on the data and AI portion. And my team uses data and a lot of the new generative AI capabilities to build tools for the creative brand and media side. And so we have a couple AI accelerator tools that help out our global workforce, and it's been really interesting. I think what we were talking about over the last couple of years to see how the actual use and experience with these tools changes the more creative part of our agency's view of those tools from fear-based, I think, at the beginning, to real embrace and feedback and hunger for more of these types of tools to make their daily lives just a little bit easier, a little bit better, and a little bit more interesting. And that's been really surprising and nice to see, because I'm kind of fundamentally an optimist, so it's nice to not be proven naive, which a lot of times optimists are.
Amazing. Yes. And so now we've got this perspective, right, from a technical perspective, but also from an agency, which I think I'm seeing lots and lots of agencies sprout up in the last 2 years. And so I think it's a really interesting perspective that you bring. Alex and I go way back, so I'm so glad you were able to join us. I don't want to steal your own thunder, so you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks so much, Noelle. It's wonderful to be with all of you. I'm Alex Swartsel. I'm at a nonprofit called Jobs for the Future, and our mission is to transform education and workforce systems in pursuit of equitable economic advancement for all. What we mean by that is that the systems that all of us probably have moved throughout, whether in the United States or around the world, to connect to an education, to training, and ultimately to a quality job and a career that can sustain us and our families, well, too often those systems don't work as well as they should, and they don't talk to one another. And so our mission is to make sure that everybody has access to the kind of education and training and to a quality job that will allow them to support themselves and their families. Our team focuses specifically on the role that emerging technology can play in that work. And we've been heading up over just the last 18 months or so an intensive focus on AI in the future of work. And so I think what we've seen, with a lot of help from Noelle and others on the team, right, what we've seen, I think, is in the short term, a really intensive focus on AI competency and skill development. So just as all of you should have raised your hands when we asked about who is developing AI skills, that's going to be critical for every single job across the workforce, because these tools and platforms will be everywhere. But we're also, I think, starting to see shifts in some of the bigger questions that we're asking about the future of work. I think in this sort of complex landscape that we're operating within, both from the last panel where there are some real questions being asked about potential labor savings through productivity growth and so forth, and risks to jobs in that dimension, but also the opportunities that others on the panel have spoken about for more fulfilling and creative roles, even for job creation in different ways. And so I think for us it boils down to a couple of key questions that I hope will be part not just of this conversation, but of the whole conversation around AI long into the future. And one of those is, what is the work that we as a society believe that only humans can or should do, whether it's in partnership with AI or alone? And then secondly, how can we make sure that progress in AI works to ensure that everybody has access to a livelihood and a quality job? And that's a standard by which we need to evaluate AI, and we're not talking enough about that. So I hope we can get into some of that more today.
Gosh, great. I love it. Yes, yes, I love that topic. I know we're going to at least get an opportunity to talk about it at the end as we close it out. So thank you for that. And Adrian, I think, complements all of us very nicely because he provides a slightly larger scale view of the world. So I'd love the audience to understand a little bit about what you do and your view of the workforce.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Adrian McDermott. I'm the CTO of a software company called Zendesk. We make customer service software for about 100,000 businesses. There's 4 to 5 million people using our platform every day to give customer service to their, our customers' customers. I think from an AI point of view, I really feel like I'm straddling 3 different worlds. One is the builders of software and the technologists, and I think they are adapting to this paradigm shift. It's an interesting paradigm shift for developers because it's that for a developer expects to ask an API the same question with the same data and get the same answer. Unfortunately, LLMs don't behave that way. Or fortunately, they're a little more creative than that. They're unreliable, like us, like me, which is great. And so training people to adapt to that, but also then to trust the tools and use the tools is part of what we're doing, and then to build on top of it. Secondly, in customer service, it is generally agreed, I think, that customer service is going to be one of the first places where jobs will change, the nature of work will be different. Customer service is generally scaled using human power, right? All of the metrics of customer service, time to first response, average handle time, they're all about managing human capital and human capital time. The marginal cost of the next AI agent is obviously 0. And so there are different metrics and different things that happen, and we can, I think, talk about, it's a core, I think, case and things that are, it's happening today where people have been reskilled and we're using co-pilot technologies and the nature of work is changing. And then thirdly, actually, in my extracurricular life, I'm on the board of a company called Be My Eyes, which is an app for the blind and partially sighted. What I just wanted to mention that as it's embedded in your Meta glasses.
Yes.
So were you someone without vision or who needed vision assistance, you could call for Be My AI to help you, or for one of the 7 million volunteers on the platform to come in and tell you what you are looking at, how to get a taxi, is that taxi free, these kind of things. And I think that is a great example of the way that this technology can really change the way people live and the accessibility and the way that they can get around and experience the world. And we have to think differently about the apps that we can build upon it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I'm a big believer in accessibility. I feel like it's the tip of the spear and pushes a lot of really great technology into the world. So thank you for sharing that. And yes, I do actually use it often. I do use it to tell me when there's a Starbucks nearby, but still, it's fine. But I also have a child with Down syndrome, and so he uses it in a much more practical way. And it inspires me. It inspires me that it takes a team like the one you're talking about to actually say, yes, I'm willing to solve that problem, and I'm willing to build that technology, and then willing to put it into production. In order to do that, though, the people that do this work do need to get skilled. And so you mentioned reskilling. I don't have time to ask everybody every question, so I handpicked the people that I'm going to ask this question of. But Lindsey and Bob, I'm going to go to you about reskilling. It's a hot topic. Everyone's talking about reskilling. It's in the EU Act is presenting a regulation around reskilling, which I'm happy to do. I'm happy for because I'm an educator. So yay me! So it's going to be a good time. But I would be very curious, not necessarily broadly, but very specifically. I mean, you especially as a personality, as someone who is a trusted advisor to communities through the news work that you do, and Bob, in your role at the agency, I would like to understand what you personally do to stay skilled up, right? What advice can we give? Like, how are you just keeping up with the systems and tools and ideas that are coming fast and furious over the last? So I'll start with Lindsey and then Bob, go to you.
Sure. So for me, I had to make a point that every day, part of my day, I'm carving out to stay up to date. Now, part of that is because I need to know what's going on in the world of AI, the news world of AI, but part of it is also that I need to know not only what I'm talking about, but also what skill do I need to learn so that I'm prepared for that next step. And I mean, I have a vision and some ideas of what the future is going to look like. And I really do believe that we're going to have AI anchors in the future. And I'm not exactly sure if it's going to be just an avatar or if it will be me as an AI. And I need to know how to use these tools to like deep fake myself, basically, so that I can own myself.
Yes.
But also think about it, if I get sick, no one wants to hear a sick anchor. If I'm coughing or my voice is kind of scratchy and you're trying to listen to the news in the morning, it's distracting. It's distracting to me to try to read the news that way. It'd be great for my AI to just take over that day. That would be wonderful. Or also, what if you really love getting your news from me, you trust me, and my AI can go all day and all night. It won't sleep. But then I'm still human, so I can still maybe meet with people in real life. I can still do some of the in-person work, but the sitting at the anchor desk and speaking, that might become AI. So I'm actually looking at what skill set I need to develop, and maybe some of these tools are in their infancy right now, but at the very least, I need to know about them. So it doesn't mean that I have to know how to put the whole car together. I just need to know that this thing's driving. And then then I make a decision about what skill I need. But I talk to so many people who are trying to reskill right now and trying to pick which part of AI. It's hard, especially for someone like me who's interested in all of it. So that's partly of I'll make some decisions about what specifically I'm going to learn. I've taken your bot class in the past as well, so I've programmed a bot, which was awesome. A chat bot, I should say. I would love to program an actual bot, but I can't do it all. I have to make some choices.
Yeah, and I think daily practice is so important, like making it a daily habit. I always tell people, I talk to lots of executives, people that might be characterized as part of a silver tsunami that's happening. Have you heard this term where lots of people with silver hair are leaving the workforce and they're like, I don't need to know anything about this. And I'm like, well, it'd be great if you did. And then I teach them, I reskill them, not through, hey, take this class, listen to this lecture. I literally do what we do in our bot class where we bring people in and we actually have them build a system for someone they care about, someone in their ecosystem. And it is in that awareness that they get very excited. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you do every day or what you're thinking about in terms of reskilling for those who are in a similar role.
Yeah, so for anyone trying to keep up with all the technology and changes that are happening, just stop. Because my wife works in AI, I work in AI, I talk about AI all day. My team talks to me about AI. People ask me questions about it all day, and I haven't even scratched the surface. It's just impossible right now. It's moving way too quickly. I think what we try to do is take what we know about the work that we're doing, about what we're building, about our business strategy, and apply the technology as well as we can to reach the goals that we have, the goals that we have that we had set for ourselves before. I think I had talked to somebody about this before. Just using the technology is like getting in a fast car and driving nowhere. Like you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to know where you are when you get there. You want a direction that you want to go. And so concentrating on that is, I think, the best way to really get your hands around a lot of this new technology. As far as reskilling, like from a personal level, I don't think of it as reskilling as much as expanding my knowledge into areas that I didn't think I had time to really get into before. So I work at a creative agency, but we were acquired. We were a data and engineering agency before, so I haven't worked with creatives, and that was just an interesting change. A lot of engineers working with creatives. It's there's sometimes some friction there, but now I can really use some of these tools, ChatGPT being one of them, but also the tools that they're asking me about to get an idea of what their workflow is, how they think about the work that they're doing. And so when I talk to them, I have a much more universal idea of how they think about their work, and so we can start to talk on the same level that we weren't able to talk about before. And just me staying humble about what I don't know and realizing that the way that I speak to people before was really like just thinking that you needed to speak the most about the stuff that you know the most about is probably not the best way to communicate. And now I can start talking the way that they're used to talking about, or maybe they're thinking about their work in a way that I just wasn't able to before.
Yeah, I love that. Closing the gap, like in these conversations, many of us have been in that situation where we come from our perspective and then we talk to someone and you're like, why don't you understand what I'm saying? So it's really great to have a tool that can articulate that, and especially in something like a Microsoft Copilot, where it can actually help you craft emails contextually for the team that you're talking to. It's really exciting stuff. So thank you for that, Bob. That's amazing. So I'm going to shift to another question, and I'm actually going to focus. I didn't realize I put you both together, but you're both going to be answering this question. So I'll give you a chance to think about it. But this question is more about kind of the future job market and what you're thinking about in that area. Like, how are you preparing yourself, but also your teams? And for you, Alex, maybe like, the work that you're doing, I think it'd be nice to see a little bit behind the curtain in some of the conversations you're having about, like, how does this actually work inside of a large business where you're thinking about lots of people? What is your, I don't know, either projections or current plans for how you're going to tackle this need to skill everyone up?
I'm happy to start with that and to talk both about how we're thinking about it within Jobs for the Future, but also how we're engaging with our partners across the ecosystem who are, not just major employers and technology companies, but colleges, universities, community-based organizations, and others who are really wrestling with this. So for ourselves, I think we're trying to both ask the questions about where we can start to leverage these tools today, using piloting approaches, as many of you all have done as well, but with a really intense focus on living into our values as a nonprofit that is focused on this space and the future of work, and on this question of how we're building foundational AI competency skills amongst our team. So I'll give you just one example. We have a pilot starting just in a couple of weeks, and as we're not only taking applications from across the entire organization, every level, every department, so that this rollout is not siloed in any way. But we are also making it a requirement that people engage in AI competency training before they can start. Because we know that, and at least are starting to hear some inklings that you don't have to worry about deeply understanding AI, you just need to understand how to use this one tool and you'll be fine. But because we know this technology is moving so quickly and so much of the way in which you can use it effectively depends on a deeper understanding of what it's good at, what it's not, what its limitations are today, what its capabilities might be tomorrow, that we believe strongly that everybody needs to have that foundational level of understanding. And then in terms of how we're talking about it to the field, a lot of it does center on how we believe jobs may change and the skills that are going to be in demand, especially where we need to support that kind of skill development for populations that may have experienced barriers to economic advancement in the past, whether that's because people have criminal records or people don't have bachelor's degrees, for example. And so I mentioned before, and everyone is experiencing it, that there is an intensive near-term focus on AI competency, which is great for all the reasons that we've just talked about. But we're talking a lot to the field about a deeper layer of changes in in-demand skills. We believe that human skills, what we used to call soft skills, being able to collaborate, to communicate effectively with a wide variety of audiences, to be able to engage cross-functionally amongst teams, to use critical thinking skills so that you can evaluate the outputs of AI tools effectively and know if an output is the right one for the decision you're trying to make. Those skills are going to be essential. But we also see others as well, whether that's entrepreneurship. Somebody said earlier today, all engineers need to be entrepreneurs. We think every worker needs to have entrepreneurship skills because that will allow people to spot opportunities, to not just have productivity gains that in the long run could potentially eliminate jobs or risk jobs, but for the creation of new business value, of new products and services, new businesses and ideas. We're already starting anecdotally to see entrepreneurs, small business owners using AI tools to dramatically up-level their business, to be able to grow in ways that they couldn't because of capital constraints or other factors. And that's really exciting because that ultimately redounds to job creation. So what we're trying to do within our ecosystem is just to push the boundaries of the conversation a little bit, to say, here's some things that you might not be thinking about today, but that you should, whether that's skill development, whether it's other opportunities to use AI to generate economic opportunity and mobility, because it's moving so fast that if we don't act in those ways today, if we don't put those pieces in place, we're going to get left behind.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you very much. Adrian, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think about the way that we speak specifically to our customers, and they're probably driving some mission around customer service. And a core principle that we remind them of, right, is that no one ever says, oh, you know what, I have enough customer service. I don't really need any more, right? And so the opportunity here, I think it's easy to swing towards cost saving and reduction of force, or a lot of people are stepping away from seasonal hiring for Black Friday and these kind of things because they're working towards automation. But our focus with our customers is really directing them towards the experiences that they want to build. What are the customer journeys and the experiences you want your customers to have? How do you think your brand can differentiate when everyone can have really high quality service available 24/7 because it's automated and zero marginal cost? Like, what are you going to do to differentiate? And since the introduction of the telephone brought with it the removal of face-to-face service, but it enabled us to have scripts and queues and all these rituals of customer support that came in, and people didn't necessarily like them, right? We hit zero because we want the human touch, or because we're in a moment of panic or stress, or we need empathy, or we don't have enough trust in the rote answer. And I think guiding people towards seeing how AI is a tool. It's a tool that can help further your advancement towards your ultimate goals. It's a tool that can help you grow your business by connecting better, providing better service, cross-selling, upselling, doing all the things that you want to do, and really reskilling and deploying the human population where they're best. People are not at their best explaining to other people how to change their password. People are at their best connecting with humans in these human interactive tasks that require judgment and socialization. And I think as long as we remember that as we design these systems of interaction, and however it is we're deploying AI, remember what we're good at that is, to a certain extent, I'm going to say right now, irreplaceable anyway. I think as long as we remember that, we can help drive our businesses, our organizations towards a mission and make sure that we're keeping the human touch.
Absolutely, and I've worked a lot in the contact center space, and I think it's very interesting because it's one of those areas that's got high volatility in maintaining people in the role for a lot of reasons that you had mentioned, and that one of the most impactful, financially impactful strategies organizations implemented over the last year. As a matter of fact, we did an article in Harvard Business Review, happy to share it with you all, but it talked about like the number one thing was helping the helper, was leveraging your newfound knowledge and skills in AI to actually build systems that help the people that are talking to the humans. That you're right, I definitely have my dad lives with me. My dad, he never wants, he talks to Alexa every day, but not about anything he cares about. When it comes to something he cares about, he wants to talk to a human. He's the first one to eject himself out of the IVR system we've painfully created over the last 20 years. So we're moving into a part of the session that I like. It's a little Black Mirror-y, but I like it because we'll end somewhere hopefully nice. But I'd like to start by sharing with you, some of you saw me bring a stuffed tiger. It is an emotional support tiger, yes, but I bring it on stage as a reminder because as companies start investing in this technology, his name's Bruiser. I know someone just asked that in their mind, so yeah, it's Bruiser. One of the things that often happens is that people adopt AI like they are adopting a baby tiger. Like they get a baby tiger and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so cute and adorable and I love it and it can do this thing and I want to take a picture and can I join that team? That'd be fun. It's very, very enthusiastic. Hype. It's why there's a cycle around it, the hype cycle, right? But over time, as that tiger begins to grow, it is 100% dependent on you, on the workers, to actually train that tiger to become a confident, safe, secure way to help amplify the work that people do every day. And so it becomes a reminder to me, people give me baby tigers, I carry one around with me all the time, to remind me that every time we start an AI journey, it starts off with something that seems pretty cool, but could just as easily hurt us. And so I share that because I'd like a couple of people, if you want to jump in, some others who don't get picked, it's a good topic. But I want to just have a couple people share some of the biggest blunders they've seen. As a matter of fact, Brian, we talked about it. So I think one of those blunders would be great. And then I'm also going to have Adrian. I know you got some good, scary stories in customer service. So I just thought it'd be good for you to see kind of the worst of it? Like, how does this not go well? So maybe, Brian, you can get started with that.
Sure. From a couple different angles I can think about. I mean, just from like the software development angle, there's driven by the need to compete and hype and things like that. Some products will get rolled out without fully developing guardrails that might be needed. The most extreme or maybe famous examples of that might be things like facial recognition that, depending on the color of someone's skin, might not recognize them or confuse them, things like that, that everyone can really connect with, to me, from the software development angle, that's probably one thing that I think of. The example I know that not to be mysterious, that we had been talking about was the hallucinated cases, citations in just for anyone who's not familiar with this story, with these circumstances, is there was a lawyer who was suing an airline in New York, and he used ChatGPT to write his legal brief, and then he filed it with a court, and it contained made-up cases. And he was actually given an opportunity to correct the brief and didn't. So he ended up getting sanctioned and suspended from practicing for like 5 years. And they put out a press release about it. They wanted to make an example. So, learning by fire there. I guess those are kind of two examples. One other one that I could maybe throw in there, just because spend a lot of time with my trade association doing policy advocacy, mostly with the federal government, is, I think from that perspective, from the people setting these rules, there has been definitely over the last year and a half, 2 years, a real rush to jump in and regulate. And and the example that I can give there is there was a non-discrimination rule under the Affordable Care Act that was put into place by the Health and Human Services Department, which puts strict liability on any doctor who uses AI, defined super broadly, like even using the sum function in an Excel spreadsheet potentially could meet this definition. So if they use this AI, then they face strict liability. And I think there's a negative impact on the work. It's a great reason to say no, when you talk to your internal counsel or something like that, for a lawyer to say, no, the risk is too high, just don't use it, and not pick up the tools at all. And that's, so we're always trying to encourage regulations being put into place to be technology neutral and based on reasonably expected or demonstrated harms rather than hypotheticals. But 3 different angles I thought I'd throw out there.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I have baby tiger moments on LinkedIn. I post baby tiger moments of all of these. There are hundreds of very reputable companies going into production with nonsense that hurts their companies, their clients, and what I say is like, yeah, it's sad to watch, but it's extremely valuable for you all as like people who will do this work. We can learn from them. At least we could learn from them. Adrian, any good stories come to mind that you'd like to share with us that wouldn't hurt you too hard to tell?
Well, firstly, I should acknowledge that my name is Adrian, and I have deployed some shitty bots. And you may have used them, and I apologize unreservedly.
Hi, Adrian.
But in all seriousness, I think people get excited about the cost-saving aspect or about some other efficiency aspect of technology, and then they create bad experiences, and they generally get found out. That's category 1 of what can go wrong, I think, and it's the one a lot of us are familiar with, right? When models, our first AI model we released in 2014, it was trained on 100,000 tickets. GPT-4 is trained on the entire internet. Big difference. Yeah. It understands a lot more of what people are saying to it, much better experience, right? And so understanding the limits of your technology and what you can do to deploy it, really important. That's category 1 disaster. Category 2, I think, would be politely formulated as mess around and find out, right? You're like an extreme risk taker company and you're like, this is really cool. I'm having a little nerdgasm over the way it answers my questions. Let's just put it live and see how it goes. There was another airline example, actually, an airline that did that. In GPT-4, if you ask it a question, it is sort of trying to generate the next token which gives you the most viable answer. So if you ask it, what is your bereavement policy? It's like, well, you're a national airline. You probably have a bereavement policy. If someone is bereaved, they can book and change a ticket with no fees. And so it told the user something plausible. It gives the most plausible answer. Not correct. And ended, I believe, in a class action lawsuit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so I think you kind of dance between those two sides of the equation. You want to be forward thinking. You want to deploy technology. You also don't want to give people terrible experiences and gate the thing too much and kind of do that. And I think the happy path in the middle is one that is becoming much clearer. And thankfully, the technology gets better basically every month, and it's becoming much easier to achieve.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. I mean, it's terrifying, but exciting all at the same time. So as we close out the panel, I always like to end with hopefully some practical ideas about how we see the future of the workforce. I know personally, I work with lots of clients. We have an AI accelerator. We take them in 90 days. We go from enthusiasm to execution, which is my new book, Enthusiasm to Execution, which means we start with an idea, then we build a model, and then we deploy it in 90 days. The way we do that successfully is through a concept known as red teaming. And it literally is doing what we did up here, bringing together a bunch of very different perspectives and having them actually work with a model to ensure that you don't deploy it prematurely. And if you do deploy it, you deploy it to people that'll give you good feedback. These are very important, I think, processes. But what I'd like to do is have every person on the panel kind of think about a use case that maybe they've thought about, 10 years ago, and because of technology, because of resources, they couldn't get it done. Like so many times we have a dream like, I'm going to translate every piece of content I've ever written. Oh, wait, that's hard, never mind. And we forget about doing it. And then AI comes and makes it possible again, but we never go back. I call it bring back the backlog. We never go back to the backlog and go, wait, what could I do now that I couldn't do before that might be worth revisiting? So I thought it would be a fun exercise to have each person talk about a use case that they'd love to see either done or revisited in the world of AI and the future of work. Maybe Lindsey, we'll start with you and we'll just go down.
There's a lot that comes to mind.
I know, but we have to pick one.
I remember trying to print out the whole internet one time. If I could just download that whole internet into my brain, that would be amazing. But the one thing that I actually think about is not necessarily for myself, but for like the youth of today, and that's adaptability. And we're talking about having to retool and reskill, and there are a lot of people, as you mentioned, who are very reluctant to that. I think if we can start in schools and teach adaptability and realize that what you think you're going to do or what your dream is going to change. We're so fixated on you want to be an XYZ when you're 5 years old, and then like we made this promise to ourselves that we're going to do this, and it's hard to break those promises. So I think if we can find a way to realize that we're going to have to change and that we're going to have to learn skills throughout our life, it's not just from school and then you're done. I think that would be something that I'd love to tackle. Not exactly sure how to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of soft skills that we're talking about
can be taught.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I just look at the future for the small business software, typical small business software developer, I think it's actually a very bright future, and already these tools are demonstrating themselves as vital augmentative means to make someone, in some cases, exponentially more efficient and exponentially increase the quality of what they're working on. So there's very little of a I mean, it's being fully embraced by the software development industry. I contrast that a little bit again to because I guess I'm the lawyer here, but to look at the legal profession. That profession has existed for a very long time, and and the demographics undoubtedly skew older for lawyers than probably for developers. Uptake has really not been, I mean, there's people get scared by the use case that we talked about. There'll probably be something of an evolution, a squeeze, if you will, on some parts of, for a typical law firm in automating some administrative tasks. But I think that there's a very interesting contrast for me there. But even for the legal profession, I think that the future is actually quite bright. And once people do get that training, and I give full credit to bar associations and things like that who try to put those things together.
Awesome.
I think it will evolve well.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, and just, I hate to wrap it, but 30 seconds to
So I'm going to do this
That's
quick.
all right.
Yeah. So coming from data, we spent a bunch of time building these huge kind of data infrastructure at all kinds of companies. Pinterest, I think we were one of we built the first Pinterest data warehouse. We did it for Google for a little while. And you build these, you get all this data together, and there are only a couple people that can use this system, and you have to ask those people when you have a question about the data. And I think up until 5 years ago, there was always this promise, there was this promise that you could just use natural language to ask about your data. And everyone that said that before ChatGPT was lying to you. Like, that's not possible. Yeah. And now, finally, there's this ability, I think right around the corner, or even, like, I'm sure people are building it now, to really ask whatever you want, no matter where you are in the company or not in the company, if you have access to that data, in regular language, and get back an answer, which I think is going to open up a whole world of possibilities for people being able to expand what they think of as their job, and not feel so kind of hemmed into corners. Now they can know much more about the work that they're doing, the impact of that work, the impact of other people's work, and how it really fits into how they fit into the company. And I think that's really exciting for me personally, because I think it allows people to kind of dispense with the drudgery, know more about things without having to go through kind of oracles, and that's just an exciting future, I think.
Thank you, Bob. All right, one quick one. Do you got a quick one?
Lifelong career navigation. If a healthcare system can say in a year you need this medical test, an AI system should be able to say in 6 months you need to develop this skill set to get the next job that you want.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. Okay, Adrian, ending with you. No pressure.
I'm one of the special class of people who went to school to learn how to be a coder. I should be fired. Everyone in this room can now build whatever they want. You don't need the special people anymore. Everyone is a builder. Don't be afraid.
Yes, everyone's a builder. It's a great way to end. I want to thank the panel. Thank you all for being here. I have a gift for you, so don't leave until I have a chance to give it to you. Someone in the audience in this general area has a tiger under their chair. You'll also get a free gift, so come see me afterwards. So excited. Thank you for being here with us. We're going to stand up and take a selfie, because I take a selfie on every stage. If you don't want to be on the internet, I mean, you're at CES, but if you don't want to be on the internet, just look away. But thank you. Give a warm round of applause to our panel.